For those of us in uniform who served in Afghanistan, for our families who have suffered and sacrificed along our side, for those who have supported us, these have been incredibly emotional and trying days, and indeed years. We are all conflicted with feelings of pain and anger, sorrow and sadness, combined with pride and resilience. There are no words that I or the Secretary or the President or anyone else will ever do to bring the dead back, but we can always honor them. And one thing I am certain of, for any soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine and their family, your service mattered, and it was not in vain.
I was very struck you used the words pain and anger, and that you understood that was out there. So as a combat veteran yourself of Afghanistan, can you help people understand that? Where does your pain and anger come from?
I have all those same emotions, and I'm sure the Secretary does, and anyone who served. And I commanded troops, and I wasn't born a four-star general. I have walked the patrols and been blown up and shot at and RPG'd and everything else. My pain and anger comes from the same as the grieving families, the same as those soldiers that are on the ground. Last night I visited the wounded up in Walter Reed. This is tough stuff. War is hard. It's vicious. It's brutal. It's unforgiving. And yes, we all have pain and anger. And when we see what has unfolded over the last 20 years and over the last 20 days, that creates pain and anger. And mine comes from 242 of my soldiers killed in action over 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. So yeah, I have that, but I'm a professional soldier. I'm going to contain my pain and anger and continue to execute my mission.
Hey, I'm Sean Morrow, host of the NowThis podcast, Who Is? You might remember me from those annoying ads you were subjected to at the end of videos for like 2 years. Who are the people that run the world? Things have changed a bit since I last saw you. You know, pandemic, insurrection, Emily in Paris getting nominated for a Golden Globe. But I'm still trying to figure out, who are the people who run the world? On Who Is, the podcast, we examine power through the stories of the people who have it. From mercenary forces, to the big businesses controlling your food, to a hedge fund manager who basically holds countries for ransom. To tell these stories, we bring in cool guests from people you've heard of, like Stacey Abrams, to people you haven't, like law professors digging into police union contracts, and reporters following the money that flows from the donor class to the politicians who supposedly represent all of us. 2 seasons, that's 32 episodes, are ready for you to binge. And we're back for season 3, where we'll look at the giant corporations that might ruin weed for everyone, the organizations who ensure police aren't held accountable for misconduct, and the wealthy interests who are fighting to keep America sick and unhealthy, so they can, make money off of it. Look for Who Is, the podcast, on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's Who Is, the podcast.